The morning sunlight danced across the calm surface of my private lake, reflecting off the water like scattered diamonds. My boat sat anchored at the shore, a small yet personal piece of peace I had worked decades to create. Then, out of nowhere, a letter arrived from the HOA demanding I move it immediately. I read the words twice, stunned. What they didn't know could change everything. Before we dive in, make sure to like, comment, and share this story, and don't forget to subscribe to QZ Stories for more incredible real-life drama. You won't believe how this lake dispute turned into a complete reversal. It started innocently enough. I had just returned from a weekend trip when I found the HOA's notice slipped under my door. They claimed my boat was obstructing the community easement and demanded I remove it within 48 hours. I remember standing there, coffee in hand, feeling an unusual mix of irritation and disbelief. This wasn't just a matter of defiance. It was a legal impossibility. The HOA had no idea that I owned not only the lake itself, but also the surrounding property. I had acquired the land and water rights over 10 years ago, a process that involved meticulous surveys, legal filings, and county approvals. Every boundary, every access point had been documented, every deed verified. To the casual observer, it might have seemed like a neighborhood lake, but in reality, I held every right to manage it as I saw fit. I called their office immediately, attempting diplomacy first. My voice remained calm but firm, explaining that the property was private and the easement they cited didn't apply to me. Predictably, they brushed me off, assuming I was bluffing. That's when the tension started building. Here I was, standing, in my own backyard, being told what to do by a committee that had no authority. I decided that I wouldn't escalate this impulsively. Instead, I gathered every document, every legal statement, and began preparing a methodical response. This was going to be more than just a conversation. It was a test of patience, precision, and ownership rights. After the initial confrontation, I began my research into the HOA's history. I discovered that they operated a small fishing club along my lake, allowing members to dock boats and fish without my permission. They had assumed implicit control over the water, which legally was impossible. They had maintained their presence for years, believing their influence extended over my property. I spent several days documenting everything. Photographs of the docks, records of past correspondence, and minutes from HOA meetings all painted a clear picture. They had overstepped their authority. I even traced membership lists for the fishing club, discovering that most members had no legal claim to the land or water. I consulted a lawyer specializing in property law, and together we prepared a formal notice of revocation. When I delivered the notice, I remained calm, almost detached. I explained that the lake was privately owned, the easement claims were invalid, and that the fishing club must vacate immediately. The reaction was palpable: shock, confusion, and the quiet panic of those realizing they had assumed control where none existed. Some tried to argue, citing tradition or past leniency, but tradition never overrides legal ownership. In those moments, I realized the power of clarity and documentation. My calm and methodical approach made them pause, and for the first time, they truly understood that their assumed authority had limits. By enforcing my rights strategically and without aggression, I had taken the upper hand. The stage was set for the final resolution. The following week, the HOA dismantled their docks and removed all unauthorized boats. The fishing club members were escorted off the lake, some reluctantly, others with a new respect for property boundaries. Standing on the dock, I watched the water clear and undisturbed, feeling an unusual mixture of relief and vindication. Interestingly, there was no lingering hostility. Most members eventually came to understand that the conflict wasn't personal. It was legal and procedural. The HOA itself became noticeably quieter in its communications, now aware that overreach had consequences. For me, this episode reinforced the importance of preparation, documentation, and staying calm under pressure. I kept my boat in place, of course, and resumed my morning routines on the lake. Yet the tension lingered in memory, a reminder of how quickly assumptions can collide with reality. When people believe they have authority, they do not. Conflicts escalate unnecessarily. But when approached methodically, with clear evidence and composed communication, the situation resolves more decisively than anger ever could. That day, my private lake returned to its rightful state, but more than that, I realized something profound. Ownership is more than legal titles. It's the courage to assert them quietly but firmly, and the patience to let the process unfold with precision. And as I sip my coffee, watching the sun glitter across the water, I can't help but smile at the irony. A lake that seemed communal but was mine all along.